This man quit his job to track his daughter's killers, while this notorious cartel leader went on a murderous rampage after his son was killed by a rival cartel. In this video, we explore the stories of fathers who refused to watch as their children were kidnapped or murdered by the cartel. From negotiating and paying ransom for their children to taking up arms to confront the cartel, these are the stories of courageous men who gave everything for their children. Eduardo Gallo. In the quiet town of Tepoztlan, Mexico, a heart-wrenching tragedy unfolded that would transform an ordinary man into a real-life vigilante. Eduardo Gallo, a father consumed by grief and fueled by determination, embarked on a relentless quest for justice. His world was shattered when his beloved daughter fell victim to a brutal kidnapping, her life cruelly snatched away despite his desperate attempts to save her. But when the law failed to capture her killer, Gallo took matters into his own hands. In the serene landscape of Tepoztlan, a picturesque town embraced by rugged cliffs and ancient myths, the Gallo family sought refuge from the bustling life of Mexico City. It was here, in their weekend home, a sanctuary of memories and joy, where the unthinkable would occur. Eduardo Gallo, a successful consultant, never imagined that his life was about to be torn apart. On a fateful day in July 2000, the Gallo family was struck by a calamity that would forever alter their lives. Paula Gallo, a vibrant 25-year-old with an infectious smile and a zest for life, vanished without a trace. The silence of the house screamed the unspeakable. Their daughter had been kidnapped. As the sun set on that harrowing day, the kidnappers made their demands known. They wanted a ransom, and they wanted it fast. Eduardo Gallo, driven by a father's love, scrambled to gather the sum of $18,500 and a collection of jewelry, a small price to pay for his daughter's safety. With trembling hands and a heart heavy with dread, he complied with their demands, clinging to the hope of Paola's return. But hope turned to despair when, just a week later, Paola's lifeless body was discovered, discarded callously, her future stolen by 2 fatal gunshots. The authorities moved quickly, apprehending 3 suspects in connection with the heinous crime. But the actual gunman, the one who pulled the trigger and extinguished Paola's bright flame, remained at large. The justice system, overwhelmed and riddled with corruption, seemed incapable of delivering the justice Paola deserved. With the case growing cold and justice slipping away, Eduardo Gallo made a vow. He would not stand idly by while his daughter's killer roamed free. Closing his consulting firm, he embarked on a journey that would transform him from a grieving father to a tenacious seeker of truth. The year that followed was a testament to a father's love. Eduardo Gallo delved into the criminal underworld of Mexico, a place where up to 90% of kidnappings go unreported. He pored over cellular phone records, chased down leads, and pieced together the puzzle of his daughter's final days. Armed with nothing but his intellect and an ironclad will, Gallo turned his analytical mind towards the intricate web of phone records and witness statements. He spent countless hours, days turning into weeks, meticulously mapping out the connections between the suspects and their known associates. His home, once a place of family gatherings and laughter, was now a command center for his one-man investigation. Gallo's breakthrough came when he traced a series of calls made shortly after the kidnapping. The calls led him to a payphone, a beacon of hope in his search for justice. It was here that the kidnapper had made the mistake of leaving a digital trail, a trail that Gallo followed with the tenacity of a bloodhound. The payphone became the focal point of his surveillance, a silent witness to the comings and goings of the unsuspecting residents. Gallo knew that patience was his ally, and time was his weapon. He waited, watchful and unwavering, until the moment arrived that would change everything. It was an ordinary day, the sun casting long shadows on the streets, when the man he had been hunting used the payphone. Gallo's heart raced as he recognized the face of Francisco Zamora Arellano, the 28-year-old whose hands were stained with Paola's blood. The pieces of the puzzle fell into place, and Gallo knew that his daughter's killer would finally face the consequences of his heinous act. With meticulous planning and unyielding determination, Eduardo coordinated with Mexico state authorities to set a trap. Arellano was captured without incident. In the interrogation room, the walls closed in on Arellano. Faced with the evidence that Gallo had so meticulously gathered, the gunman's resolve crumbled. He confessed to the crime, his words a cold testament to the brutality of his actions. Eduardo Gallo, the man who had refused to let his daughter's memory fade into the darkness, had achieved the impossible. He had brought her killer to justice, not through vengeance, but through an unwavering pursuit of the truth. The saga of Eduardo Gallo is a testament to the power of a father's love and the relentless pursuit of justice. In the face of unspeakable tragedy, Gallo transformed his grief into action, becoming a real-life vigilante in a quest to honor his daughter Paula's memory. His unwavering determination led to the capture and confession of her killer, a feat that seemed almost unattainable in a landscape dominated by fear and silence. Manuel Torres Felix. In the shadowed valleys of Sinaloa, a land woven with tales of power and peril, the death of Atanasio Torres Acosta, son of the notorious Manuel Torres Felix, also known as LM1 or El Ondeado, sent shockwaves through the heart of the Sinaloa cartel. This tragic event not only marked a pivotal moment in the cartel's violent saga, but also unleashed a torrent of vengeance and chaos that would reverberate across Mexico. The sun had barely risen on the 18th of April 2008, when the streets of Culiacan, Sinaloa, echoed with the sound of gunfire, a sign of the chaos that would soon engulf the city. Atanasio Torres Acosta, the 20-year-old son of Manuel Torres Felix, was mercilessly gunned down in an ambush that left the Sinaloa cartel reeling. The assailants, purportedly from the rival Beltran-Leyva cartel, not only snatched a son from his father, but also ignited a fuse of unbridled rage and retribution. However, the death of Atanasio would not go unanswered. Felix is said to have gone crazy after his son was killed. His crusade of vengeance not only targeted his son's killers, but also served as a stark warning to anyone who dared challenge the cartel's dominance. His son's killers were abducted and taken to his house, where they were tortured to death. The violence that ensued was not just a father's heartbreak made manifest, it was a strategic move to reassert control and instill fear. As the cartel's enforcers, known as sicarios, took to the streets, the collateral damage was inevitable. Innocent bystanders and rival gang members alike fell victim to the escalating conflict. The once covert operations of the cartel were thrust into the public eye as the brutality of the drug war spilled over into the daily lives of Sinaloa's residents. The death of Atanasio Torres Acosta did more than just trigger a spate of violence. It exposed the fragility of the criminal empires that had long operated in the shadows. The Sinaloa cartel, despite its vast power and influence, was not immune to the destabilizing effects of personal loss and retribution. The incident served as a grim reminder that in the world of organized crime, the lines between the personal and the professional are thin. His reign of terror, however, was not to last. In the early hours of the 13th of October, 2012, the community of Oso Viejo in Culiacan became the stage for his final stand. In a fierce gun battle with the Mexican army, Torres Felix met his end. His death was as violent as the life he led, his body riddled with gunshot wounds, a stark end to a chapter in the cartel's blood-stained history. The aftermath of the shootout was telling. The military seized an arsenal of weapons, ammunition, and other materials, a testament to the warlike operations Torres Felix had been running. He had been a linchpin in the Sinaloa cartel, a key figure in the drug trafficking empire that El Mayo and El Chapo had built. Fear gripped the heart of Sinaloa as the public braced for each new act of retribution, each new headline detailing the horrors unfolding on their doorsteps. The Mexican authorities, already locked in a seemingly endless battle against the cartels, were forced to double down on their efforts. Checkpoints mushroomed across the region, military patrols became a common sight, and the hunt for those responsible for the surge in violence intensified. The government's response was a show of force, an attempt to reassure the public that they were taking back control from the clutches of organized crime. After his death, Torres Felix's corpse was sent to the San Martin funeral house in Culiacan, where family members and friends visited to pay their respects. Outside the parlor, the Mexican army guarded the area and established checkpoints in the nearby streets. According to the Mexican army, the death of Torres Felix dealt a huge blow against the internal structure of the Sinaloa cartel because he was the right-hand man of El Mayo and a major administrative figure in the organization. However, reports surfaced that El Mayo had set him up because he was causing too much mayhem in the streets, especially after his son's death. This was attracting too much attention to the cartel, so he needed to be handed over to the authorities. On the morning of 16th October 2012, 3 days after the death of Torres Felix, at least 3 narco banners appeared throughout the city of Culiacan, denouncing El Mayo of betraying and setting up Torres Felix to be killed by the Mexican army. Hipólito Mora. In the heart of Michoacán, a state ravaged by the iron grip of the Knights Templar cartel, a man rose from the ranks of ordinary and the government seemed powerless or unwilling to intervene. The tipping point came when the cartel's greed and violence a single family, but a declaration of war against the very soul of La Ruana. The grief-stricken father, fueled by a mix of sorrow and unyielding anger, knew that the time for fear had passed. It was time to act, to fight back, to reclaim the land that had been stained by the blood of innocents. Mora's call to arms resonated with the people of Michoacán. They too had suffered at the hands of the cartel, and they too yearned for justice and peace. Together, they formed a civilian armed self-defense movement, a band of brothers and sisters united against a common enemy. Farmers traded plows for rifles, and ranchers became guardians of their own fate. The movement grew, its ranks swelling with those who had lost too much and had nothing left to lose. Under Mora's leadership, the self-defense group began to push back against the Knights Templar. They erected barricades, patrolled their towns, and stood watch over their communities. The vigilantes, as they came to be known, were a force to be reckoned with. Their determination, as unyielding as the cartel, was ruthless. The movement was not without its critics, who feared the rise of lawlessness and the potential for these groups to become what they fought against. But for many in Michoacán, the vigilantes were heroes, the only glimmer of hope in a landscape darkened by corruption and violence. The battle was not just fought with bullets and bravery, it was also a fight for the hearts and minds of the people. Mora and his fellow leaders worked tirelessly to maintain the moral high ground, to ensure that their cause remained just and their methods honorable. They sought to protect and serve, to restore order where chaos reigned, and to bring a sense of normalcy back to a region that had been held hostage by fear. As the self-defense movement gained momentum, the cartel's grip began to loosen. Stories of their retreat from towns and villages started to emerge, whispers of hope that grew louder with each passing day. The vigilantes had done what many thought impossible. They had driven the Knights Templar out of Michoacán. The people rejoiced, their cheers echoing through the streets as Mexican troops finally arrived to support the movement that had taken a stand when no one else would. The vacuum left by the Knights Templar's retreat did not remain empty for long. Other cartels, hungry for power and profit, began to circle like vultures over the embattled state. The most prominent of these was the Viagras cartel, also known as Carteles Unidos, a group that proved to be as vicious and predatory as their predecessors. El Chapo. On a seemingly ordinary evening, the serene ambiance of La Leche restaurant in Puerto Vallarta was shattered. A group of men, enjoying the coastal city's nightlife, became the center of a dramatic abduction that would capture the world's attention. Among them were Jesus Alfredo and Ivan Archivaldo, the sons of El Chapo, dining unsuspectingly when armed assailants stormed in. The precision of the strike suggested a well-orchestrated plan, executed with a clear target in mind. Witnesses reported the surreal calmness of the gunmen as they gathered the patrons at the point of assault rifles. The Guzman brothers, along with 4 other men, were whisked away into the night, leaving behind a scene devoid of the usual signs of cartel violence. No shots, no bloodshed, just an eerie silence. The brazen nature of the kidnapping in a public venue frequented by tourists sent shockwaves through the public and law enforcement communities alike. Speculation was rife that the Jalisco New Generation Cartel, CJNG, known for their bold tactics, was behind the abduction. This act was not just a message to the Sinaloa cartel, but a declaration to the world that a new player was vying for the throne of the drug empire. The kidnapping came barely 2 months after scores of gunmen looted the house of El Chapo's mother, forcing residents to flee the cartel kingpin's hometown in the mountains of Mexico's western state of Sinaloa. It was reported that around 150 heavily armed men raided the remote village of La Tuna on Saturday, cutting telephone connections and pillaging the home of the capo's 86-year-old mother, Consuelo Loera de Guzman. Several vehicles were taken from the house. Some analysts blamed that attack on Guzman's former allies, the Beltran-Leyva cartel, seeking revenge for the 2008 betrayal and death of one of their leaders, Alfredo Beltran. The looting of his mother's house and the kidnapping of his sons was once unthinkable, but now it was a reality. Where was the drug kingpin amidst all this? The terms of this negotiation, however, remained shrouded in secrecy, fueling rampant speculation about what was exchanged between these titans of the underworld. The kidnapping of Jesus Alfredo and Ivan Archivaldo Guzman Salazar incident. Alejo Garza Tamez. In the heart of northern Mexico, where the lawless reign of cartels casts a shadow over the land, one man's unyielding spirit became a beacon of defiance. Alejo Garza Tamez, a name now synonymous with valor, faced an ultimatum that would chill the bravest of souls. When a ruthless cartel threatened to seize his cherished land, this septuagenarian rancher made a decision that would etch his story into the annals of legend. With a courageous one-man resistance, Alejo Garza Tamez stood firm, ready to defend his home and legacy against an enemy armed to the teeth. Deep in the rugged terrain of northern Mexico, where the earth tells tales of toil and triumph, there lived a man whose very essence was intertwined with the land he called home. Alejo Garza Tamez, born in the year 1933 in the quaint town of Allende, Nuevo León, was a man of the soil, a man whose hands had shaped his destiny as firmly as they had tilled the land. His life was a testament to the values of hard work and integrity, values instilled in him during his upbringing in the wooded hills of Nuevo León. Alejo's father, a sawmill owner, passed on more than just the family business to his sons. He passed on a legacy of resilience and resourcefulness. Together, they harvested and sold lumber, their honest labor a foundation as solid as the wood they hewed. Alejo's reputation as a man of his word spread far and wide, with many saying that a promise from Don Alejo was as good as a contract. But Alejo's heart belonged to more than just the family trade. From a young age, he was an ardent hunter and fisherman, his passion for the outdoors leading him to establish a hunting, fishing, and shooting club in his hometown. His prowess as a marksman was unmatched, his name becoming synonymous with the graceful flight of doves, the honk of geese, and the proud stance of deer. His collection of sporting rifles grew, each piece a testament to his skill and dedication to the sport. He purchased the San Jose Ranch in Tamaulipas, a mere 15 kilometers from Ciudad Victoria. This land was not just property, it was a part of Alejo's soul, a place where he could merge his love for the wilderness with the industrious spirit of a rancher. The ranch thrived under his care, a symbol of his connection to the earth and his unwavering commitment to the fruits it bore. However, tragedy struck on the 13th of November 2010, when members of the Los Zetas cartel demanded Alejo vacate the ranch within 24 hours or face certain death. The threat was clear, but Alejo Garza Tamez was not a man to be intimidated. At 77 years of age, he had faced many challenges, but none so dire as this. The cartel, seeking to expand their nefarious cocaine and marijuana routes to the US border, saw Alejo's land as nothing more than a piece to be claimed in their game of dominion. Alejo, however, saw his land as his legacy, a legacy he was not willing to surrender without a fight. He dismissed his workers, ensuring their safety from the impending storm. The ranch, once a place of life and labor, became a fortress, a stronghold against the encroaching evil. Alejo gathered his arsenal, his beloved rifles and ammunition, and prepared for the siege. He placed his weapons strategically, a sentinel in every window, a guardian at every door. It was close to 4 a.m. on Sunday when the distant sound of roaring engines came to his ears. The cartel members drove onto his property in large trucks, toting assault rifles and firing shots into the air. As they clambered down, one of them shouted that they'd come to claim ownership of the ranch, and anyone left inside should surrender or die. But Alejo Garza Tamez was not a man to cower in the face of tyranny. As the cartel members shouted their demands, Alejo's response was not one of submission, but of defiance. With the crack of gunfire, the battle began, a courageous one-man resistance against a force that had brought so many to their knees. Alejo moved with the precision and calm only a lifetime of marksmanship could bestow, each shot a declaration of his resolve to defend his land, his home, and his honor. The cartel, taken aback by the ferocity of this lone defender, scrambled in confusion. They had expected an easy victory, not a battle-hardened warrior standing his ground. The siege saw 4 cartel members dead and 2 more injured. Inside the farmhouse, amid the rubble and destruction, lay Alejo Garza Tamez. His lifeless body bore the marks of battle. 2 weapons lay by his side, silent witnesses to his last stand. The rancher, who had faced down the cartel's threat, had paid the ultimate price for his bravery. If you enjoyed this video, click on the boxes playing on your screen to watch similar content.